Yeah, yeah, yeah. Hey, everybody. We'll get started in a sec. Yeah, yeah, uh, yeah, 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 yeah. Oh, hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Reaction Time with Dave. I got a good one for you today. This one is a dive into the world of drones. We're talking quadcopters, two rotors, single rotor. Uh, Drones. A dive into the world of drones. Hopefully everything's been going good for you. Hopefully everything's great. I hope you guys are having a great day. I'm looking at a few things here. Make sure that you check the archive on WeGang.us. You can get to all the Reaction Time with Dave episodes from right there. I even go and flip and I will show you what I'm talking about. So you go over to the Reaction Time with Dave archive on WeGang.us and you have all of the episodes here. You can get to everything from here and you can get back. So you get the home, and this is what the homepage looks like on WeGang.us. Yeah, so you can get to everything from there. Reaction Time with Dave, my latest stream. You can get to all the music. Everything is on there. So we are talking about a dive into the world of drones. Oh, there goes Elon. He's hey, Elon's on it. He's like, dab it, slab it, slab it. Okay. If you got something, roll it up, light it up, because we're gonna get started in a second here. Now we're talking about drones. And no, I don't mean that annoying noise that goes. We're talking about high class. Oh, I'm dying. Consumer changing. Soon for future delivery. Drones. We're talking about drones. Remember, you go over to weegang.us and get to the Reaction Time with Dave page over here, and you get to all the episodes and everything. What you need is going to be right here. So we're getting started. Let's talk. What is a drone? Essentially, a drone is a flying robot that can be remotely controlled or fly autonomously, that means by itself, using software controlled flight plans in its embedded systems that work in conjunction with onboard sensors and a global positioning system. So, GPS, basically, they're saying they use satellites, GPS, all that, and onboard sensors to tell where it's going. So, we're going to say, what is the main function of a drone? Let's look down here. Drones have many functions ranging from monitoring climate change to carrying out search operations after natural disasters, photography, filming, and delivering goods. But their most well known and controversial use is by the military for reconnaissance, surveillance, and yes, let's say it one more time, targeted attacks. Let's say it one more time, targeted attacks. So, I'm gonna light this up for Elon there. We'll get ready on our journey and let's take a dive into the world of drones. So let's go over here. We're on Merriam Webster. We're at the dictionary, baby. Drones are everywhere now, but how did they get their name? When did unmanned aircraft become known as drones? It was probably earlier than you think. Unmanned aerial vehicles were used during World War II. They're also called UAVs. If you play Call of Duty, you'll know what I'm talking about. They were used during World War II as targets for fighters and anti aircraft guns, which had to have something to practice with. Like, as a fighter, you need something to practice with. These radio controlled aircraft were called RPVs at the time, or remotely piloted vehicles, but their military creators and users soon gave up the acronym for something a little more prosaic. There's a picture of a drone. There were two meanings for drone. Then a male bee or a monotonous, sustained sound, which was the inspiration for applying the term. The question. The Aircraft's function can clue you in. It's an extension of the bee meaning. Drones are bigger and heavier than worker bees, and they leave the hive and swarm in the fall. They are renowned for a sort of mindless and driven existence. They don't gather honey, they don't defend or maintain the hive, and their only purpose is to impregnate a queen bee. Using a drone for the RPVs emphasized the fact that they had no mind of their own, and no doubt buzzing flight of a RPV also reminded them of another flying buzzer, which is the bee. So that's where we get the word drone from. The word drone was first used of an unmanned aerial vehicle in 1946, but advances in drone technology in the past few years have made the term much more common. And while they may have no mind of their own, they may be soon connected to yours. It says, as this BB story about drones that can be controlled by brain waves shows. Now, there's a BBC study that says drones can be controlled by brain waves. We know about Elon Musk's Neuralink. We know about things like that. So, we know, is it possible? It all sounds like the future, but the future is coming soon. So, we're going to what is a drone. We live in a world and age, and this is over at My Dear Drone. It's featured in a lot of magazines. We live in a world and age where the thirst for technology has soared in recent years. Due to the expansion of technological advancements, humankind has created devices most scientists living in the 20th century couldn't even dream of. One of the best things that were made in this century is the drone, and they are changing the way that we see and interact with our world. But what is a drone and how do drones work? A drone is a small flying machine that can be used for various purposes, such as aerial photography, fun, search and rescue operations, crop spraying, livestock management, and many more. I personally use it for my aerial photography. I do some video stuff with it for music. I do a lot of things. Drones are operated by remote control or through a mobile app. Drones are often called UAVs, unmanned aerial vehicles, which we said earlier, or UAS, unmanned aerial systems, and we'll get to that when we get to the defense part of this. There are many types of drone, including quadcopters, hexacopters, octocopters, and multi-rotors. Drones are getting popular because their ability to fly at high altitudes for various purposes. You may also require additional accessories such as a GPS unit, high quality cameras with image stabilization technology to experience greater aerial photography. I've got a drone. We'll do a little interactive thing later, and I will go into the next room and show you. The price range for drones obviously depends on their features. They drones have been, used recently in wars, like widely used in recent wars, either to scout or bombard strategic tactics. These types of drones have an incredible amount of negative attention. That's why our military-style drones, drone. You, there's a lot of drone strikes and things that may not be particularly allocated to the right parties or the right people. It's all mystery. This is in simple terms, a drone is a UAV, an unmanned aerial vehicle that is remotely controlled by a person on the ground. In other words, a drone is an aircraft without a physical pilot in the aircraft. Drones come in a wide array of sizes, and they vary for purpose to purpose. Some have arms, some don't. For instance, some drones are made for the military and used in the wars from Iraq and Afghanistan. Other types of drones, such as the Predator, are used to protect the U.S. and Canada's borders. There are also solar drones, reconnaissance drones, monitoring drones, and many others. These drones, also known as quadcopters, are specifically built for people who want to record video from above or just enjoy flying their gadget. Now that's the new stuff here. We're getting closer to the new age of drones where it is more consumer friendly. So we're going to take a look at the history of drones, the pros and cons. So, we'll go over history. History of drones starts in the early 20th century. During World War I, the French developed unmanned aerial vehicles. It was called balloons. It carried bombs and conducted espionage on its opponents. Now, these balloons, they flew across, and sometimes they flew back into French territory because they were literally balloons. The balloons were tethered to a heavy object to keep them from being carried away by the wind. In the 1960s, drones were used for military purposes. The United States Air Force started using drones for reconnaissance missions over North Vietnam. In 2013, Congress passed a law that allowed the Department of Homeland Security, DHS, and Customs and Border Protection, CBP, to use drones for specific missions. That's why at the border now they have drones that go up and down the border. The agencies are now actively involved in monitoring border regions with Mexico and Canada, as well as patrolling coastlines, they're protecting the coast, for illegal immigrants attempting to cross illegally into America from the sea. Remember Elian Gonzalez? We lived through this. Now, there are different types of drones: fixed wing, multi-rotor, hybrid, and single rotor. We're going to go over these a little bit more in depth in a minute. Uses of drones: photography, surveillance, agriculture, military operations, firefighting, search and rescue, and research. And, small drones are used for recreation to take photos from different angles. Pair drones control with a smartphone. Delivery drones, e-commerce for customers and business, and, military. We went over that. Some of them offer 4K cameras. Some of them offer a little bit more, and we'll go over the pros and cons in a minute. So, we're over here looking at drones, multi-rotor drones. They got advantages and disadvantages, technical uses. But before we go into that dive, I'm going to hit you guys with, what is a drone? So let's take a look. And I'm going to get
Drones.
one.
Drone is a word you see pretty often in today's pop culture. But drones seem to be an extremely diverse species. Everything from this to this. Even flightless vehicles are occasionally referred to as drones. So what exactly is a drone? Unfortunately, there isn't a simple answer to this, because although the word has become very popular, it isn't rigorously defined. A term which is more descriptive, and is most often what people are referencing when they say the D word, is unmanned aerial vehicle. Essentially,
UAV,
if
we
it
went over
flies
this.
in a controlled way and there isn't anybody on board, it's a drone. Whether it is controlled entirely by computers and artificial intelligence, or, on the other end of the spectrum, entirely controlled by a remote human, makes little difference. But most often when you see a vehicle described as a drone today, it is a little bit of both. Piloted by humans, but capable of some degree of navigation on its own if necessary. In the future, of course, this is likely to change. Just as driverless cars loom on the horizon, drones of the future will be overwhelmingly automated. The hypothetical UAV that delivers a package to your doorstep won't be flown by a bored pilot on the internet. So why in pop culture is this a drone, but this usually isn't? Culturally, your father's 35-year-old RC plane gets disqualified for appearing insufficiently futuristic. The word today is associated with the technologies of tomorrow, even though it seems likely that the word was coined in the early days of aviation in reference to remote-controlled target drone airplanes. The first common target drone design was appropriately enough called a queen bee.
Queen bee.
Drone is a fickle word. Maybe what the future really needs is a little refining of the D word. After all, if the person next to you remarks, "There is a drone overhead," it would be good to know if they meant a 2-pound glorified helicopter or a 5,000-pound killing machine.
Right.
But this reflects a larger question. Will automated vehicles be primarily used as tools of peace and commerce, or of war? If history is anything to go by, probably both.
Right. You never know. Military takes everything.
If you enjoyed this video,
So,
like, comment, subscribe, and check out our other videos. Thanks for watching.
All I'm saying is, you gotta start looking at how it is. So it could mean, like she said, it could be a 5,000-pound killing machine, or it could be something else. So we go to pros and cons of drones. The use of drones has been a hot topic for many years, and the debate continues. There are many benefits. For example, they can be used to transport goods in areas that don't have reliable ground transportation methods. They can save time by taking surveys and surveying property faster than done by humans on foot. And drone owners can use them for recreational purposes, such as photography and videography. These devices have not been without controversy, though. Drones may pose a danger on the ground, but there's also a way to avoid this possible risk. Drone operators must always keep their drone within line of sight when flying within 400 feet of people or buildings, and never fly over groups of people or uninvolved vehicles or vessels. Some people feel that privacy is violated when with these devices because they can potentially fly over private property with ease, and we know that's possible. We know. So let's look at the technical uses. How do I always keep going back? So then we have the different types of drone: multi-rotor versus fixed versus single rotor versus hybrid VTOL. So there is multi-rotor drones, fixed wing drones, single rotor drones, fixed wing hybrid VTOLs. Now we're going to run over these and we're not going to have to break them down, but we'll go back later. So we got multi-rotor drones. Some of the pros for that is ease of use, accessibility, VTOL and hover flight, good camera control, can operate in confined area. Some of those cons are short flight time, small payload capacity. And their uses for most of these are aerial video and photography, aerial inspection, and 5 to 65,000 for pro drones. Fixed wings have long endurance, large area coverage, fast flight. Single rotors have VTOL and hover flight, long endurance with gas power, heavier payload capability, and you got fixed wing hybrids, VTOLs, long endurance flight. Most of their cons, the pros are the same, and the cons are a little bit different, but everything has its give and his take. So here's a brief history of drones. Now, unmanned aerial vehicles are aircraft with no onboard crew or passengers. They can be automated drones or remotely piloted vehicles. They can fly for long periods of time at a controlled level of speed and height and have a role in many aspects of aviation. Now, first pilotless vehicles were developed in Britain and the USA during the First World War, as they were alluding to. Britain's aerial target, a small radio controlled aircraft, was first tested in March 1917, while the American aerial torpedo, known as the Kettering Bug, first flew in October 1918. Although both showed promise in flight tests, neither were used operationally during the war. So, we're going to go down here and we're going to look at these. During their interwar period, the development and testing of unmanned aircraft continued. In 1935, British produced a number of radio-controlled aircraft to be used as targets for training purposes. It's thought the term drone started to be used at this time, inspired by the name of one of those models, DH 8.82B Queen Bee. Radio-controlled drones were also manufactured in the United States for target practice and training. Reconnaissance UAVs were first deployed on large scale in the Vietnam War. Drones also began to be used in a range of new roles, such as acting as decoys in combat, launching missiles against fixed targets, and dropping leaflets for psychological operations. Following the Vietnam War, other countries outside Britain and the United States began to explore unmanned aerial technology. New models became more sophisticated with improved endurance, the ability to maintain greater height. In recent years, models have developed using that technology, such as solar power, to tackle the problem of fueling longer flights. Think about electric drones that are charged by solar. Wow, I'm not going to go. You guys steal my ideas. Following the Vietnam War and other countries outside of Britain and the United States began to explore the aerial technology, new models became more sophisticated and more sophisticated. It's more sophisticated. So it's like innovation in this. That's why I repeated that thing. That sentence is becomes more sophisticated because every day you turn around, there is something new, something more powerful, something that is the next step, one better, you know? So we know their function. So look at this. We got the aerial target, a British radio control aircraft in the First World War. Its remote control components were designed by Dr. Archibald Lowen, part of IWM's collection. It became the first drone to fly under control in 1917. The pilot on this occasion was the future world speed record holder Henry Seagrave. Wow. Then you got the Queen Bee. Look at that. Prime Minister Winston Churchill and Captain David Morganson, Secretary of State for War, watching preparations being made for the launch of de Havilland Queen Bee seaplane, L5984, from its ramp. Queen Bee was a pilotless target drone, was radio controlled version of the Tiger Moth trainer. Then you got drone prototypes, a remote control drone prototype based on a B-17 Flying Fortress. That takes off from Hilo Naval Air Station in Hawaii in 1946 to fly to Muroc Army Airfield, California, remotely controlled by USAAF. It's the Army Air Force Service. We got drone trial. The first Cabanera U Mark 10 jet was a plane which was to be used as a pilotless drone aircraft in the Sea Slug guided missile trials from the HMS Griddle Nest. The Royal Navy's guided weapons trial ship based at Malta in 61. SDI surveillance drone system. A drone of the SDI surveillance drone system used by the Royal Artillery. Is it like, look at this stuff. Then we got RPV testing. Two British soldiers prepared to launch a remotely piloted vehicle drone from a Bedford 3-ton truck in Germany and in 1980s. Wow. Keep adding a joystick. Amazing. MIDS drone. This technician serving a Royal Artillery Division locating battery checks. Serving with a Royal Artillery Divisional locating battery checks. The launch, wow. Launched the mechanism of a British Army. There's so many words to describe what they are. Why? It's a mid surveillance drone. The rocket powered MIDS drone was designed to carry out aerial photography reconnaissance on a pre programmed flight. It was equipped with a single camera loaded with either black or white photographic film. Reconnaissance drones. That's a pilotless drone designed for reconnaissance and artillery spotting used by British forces in the Gulf War in 91. Got the Watchkeeper drone. That's a UAV, Camp Bastion, and that's principal British base in Himland Province, Afghanistan. That was 2012. Today's drones, exterior view of pods at Waddington, Lincolnshire, and this MQ-9 Reapers are operated there. Those are the pods. Wow. MQ-9 Reaper, interior of a pod at RAF Waddington, where the pilot and the sensor operator fly an MQ-9 Reaper. Mind blowing. Mind blowing. So then we get into these uses here. We're like, what what about it? How do drone strikes work? So we live in the drone age now. Drones can be used for good and bad. So we got commerce, military, and aerial photography, and the consumer market. So we looked at the consumer market a little bit. We looked at the military a little bit, right? There's just rules to this. You can't just have a drone and do whatever you want. So there's unmanned aircraft systems. This is the FAA. They'll take away your license. They'll come and get you. They'll find you. They'll shoot your drone down. This is not a joke. Individuals or entities that transport dangerous goods via unmanned aircraft systems or drones must meet the same regulatory requirements of manned aircraft. A brief description of applicable regulations as they apply to drones listed below. Now, we won't go crazy with this. I went to Florida, and getting your drone on a plane, lithium batteries, all that stuff. They want to know. They want to know if, potentially a bomb, if it's potentially traveling across the country with it, it needs to be stored properly. They don't play games. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a whole video on it. We're not going to dive into that, but it's there on the FAA's website. To do a lot of commercial stuff, you need a Part 107 to even operate your drone. And that Part 107 means you have the proper knowledge and you know what you're doing, and you require a written test. Like, it's a lot. That's one of the things. So it's not just like anybody's grab. You can buy a drone, but if you get caught flying it in areas you shouldn't be, or you don't understand the rules, you're taking that risk. So now we got the U.S. military. The U.S. military is the quintessence of war at its finest. Okay, so what do we use these drones for? We use these drones in the military. We use these drones, and they're employed by the U.S. So let's go 12 drones employed by the military. And then with consumer drones like your DJIs, you have drones for commercial, like you said, those VTOL long fixed flight planes, so that can carry heavy payloads. Sorry, I'm losing my words. Militaries or unmanned aerial vehicles are truly a game changer in military operations. Drones offer many advantages over traditional warfare tactics, with the ultimate goal of reducing soldier fatalities. There's plenty of controversies over the government using these drones, and it's not going to go away. Global spending on unmanned aerial vehicles (UAVs) is expected to reach nearly $100 billion in the coming decade. That's wild. Why? Why the sudden explosion? Why the sudden explosion of military drones? Because we're in the digital age now. Everything becomes a little bit more technical. It's not the Cold War anymore. We're sending codes. We have technology and chemical warfare, and it says the most profound innovation in military warfare in the last several decades is not the last, if not the last century, is the introduction of UAVs. Unmanned aerial vehicles or drones have powerful capabilities when it comes to surveillance and reconnaissance. And it's just a controversy because they don't know what we're using them on, who. The theory is that drones can save military lives, yet there are plenty of critics that add they also take innocent lives in the process. We blow up a town, we do kill people. Let's go. We know that. So there's an argument over this. And they say they plan to spend close to $3 billion on military drones by the end of the decade. That's the U.S. government. And the use of unmanned aerial vehicles is skyrocketing with no end in sight. So we're going to look at these. So we got one, the Avenger from General Atomics. 460 mile per hour max speed, cost $15 million. Range is 15,000 miles. First flight in 2009. The AAI RQ-7, 130 miles max speed, 15 million, 68-mile range, 6 to 9 hours endurance, 81 miles per hour cruise speed. It's primarily used in Army, and this is all military. A Northrop Grumman X-47A, 4,000 or 5,000 pounds, 40,000 feet it's flying at. I mean, it's just wild. You know what I'm saying? Then you got MQ-9 Reaper. We know 300 miles per hour, 14 hours endurance, 1,200 miles. That's also made by General Atomics. MQ-1 Predator, 135 mile max speed, like 135 miles per hour. That is fast. I drive that fast in my race car. 4,777 miles. That's a great number. First flight is in 1994. And we got a Fire Scout. That's an MQ-8. 115 knots is the max speed. 14 million for that. 50 miles. 14 million. There's an RQ-4. 391 miles per hour is max speed. 357 cruise speed. 32 hours of endurance. $223 million. RQ-8. No, not RQ-8. That was up there. RQ number 8, the RQ-11 Raven. That's when you launch. 18 mile per hour or 19 mile per hour, 60 to 90 minutes endurance, 173,000. You got a Wasp, RQ-12, 40 miles per hour max speed, weighs 0.95 pounds, $49,000, lightweight drone. RQ-20 Puma, 52 miles per hour, costs $250,000. 23 miles per hour cruise speed. You got a Blackjack, 100 miles per hour, $5.3 million. We got a Sentinel RQ-170, and this is a concept of it. Wild, right? Fast fact: General Electric T-34 turbofan with 3-member ground crew. Like that is, and that's Lockheed Martin. So it gets heavy. It gets real heavy. So let's take a look at these drone strikes we're talking about.
We don't officially
Cheddar
know
News.
what weaponry was used in the strike against Iranian General Qasem Soleimani.
Right.
The statement released by the White House doesn't indicate any method. However, reports from the New York Times and several anonymous sources confirm it was a drone strike. Government officials rarely comment on the drone program, so it's difficult to say exactly how many strikes have been deployed. But it's known that during Obama's time in office, his administration deployed over 500 drone strikes in Afghanistan, Pakistan, Somalia, and Yemen.
Wow.
The U.S. drone program is shrouded in secrecy, but leaked military documents and first-person accounts can help paint a picture of just how a drone strike works. The U.S. uses several types of drones, but only two carry out attacks,
Okay.
Predators and Reapers. Of these, the largest and most powerful is the MQ-9 Reaper. The MQ-9 Reaper has a wingspan of 66 feet.
Elon.
It can
Hit it,
fly at a
Dapper.
maximum altitude of 50,000 feet and
Wow.
carry up to 3,750 pounds. According to data provided by the U.S. Air Force, it has a top speed of 230 miles per hour and a range of 1,150 miles.
Wow.
On any strike mission, a drone will be armed with bombs or missiles. The most common is the AGM-114, a laser-guided missile also known as a Hellfire missile. The term Hellfire actually refers to a family of precision missiles designed to localize damage.
Elon got
Even
me.
though drones can be operated remotely, drone strikes are far from a hands-off process. By the
Wow.
time a drone strike is ordered, the crew has likely been monitoring a target for weeks. The strike order is then passed up a chain of approval. The exact chain of approval is unknown, but leaked Pentagon papers provided to The Intercept in 2015 indicate that in some instances, the final permission is granted by the president himself.
We know
A
that.
2013 strike in Yemen had to be approved by 15 people and finally the president in order
Yeah.
to be carried out.
Yeah.
Once permission is granted, the drone can be launched. Even though drones are piloted remotely, they require an on-the-ground crew for launch and retrieval.
Yeah.
After takeoff, control is transferred to a pilot who could be thousands of miles away,
Yeah.
often at a U.S. Air Force base in
Okay.
Nevada or New Mexico.
Okay.
Reaper drones are equipped with 2 sets of communication tools.
2
A
sets.
communication antenna allows the ground
Ooh.
crew to control takeoff and landing,
Okay.
and a satellite communication system enables remote control by a pilot.
Yeah.
This style of control is referred to as remote split operations.
Remote split.
For a successful strike, the drone needs to be within a few kilometers of the target. If the strike is aimed at an individual, the target is almost always that person's cell phone. According to papers
Wow.
obtained by The Intercept, cell phone use plays a vital role in tracking and identifying targets.
Wow.
After the missile is launched, the drone remains in the air, and the pilot monitors the success of the mission via the drone's onboard cameras. Piloting a drone is sometimes compared to playing a video game,
Oh no.
but former drone pilots say that this comparison is disrespectful and inaccurate.
Exactly.
Through cameras, drone pilots are often witness to up-close acts of violence, and drone pilots still report suffering from PTSD. When it comes to the U.S. military, drone
Wow.
strikes are primarily used to target suspected terrorists and terrorist activity, but it's
Right.
not always that simple.
Exactly.
According to information obtained by the Bureau of Investigative Journalism, between 384 and 807 civilians were killed by drone strikes
Wow.
between 2008 and 2016.
Wow.
Whistleblower accounts indicate that this number may be underreported.
Well, I believe that number is underreported. I know that number is
Even though
underreported.
they're stunning pieces of technology,
Wow.
drones still need to evolve to stay relevant.
They do.
So far, drones have been operating in environments without direct threats,
Yep.
but that won't always be the case. According to the Air Force Times, the next generation of unmanned aircrafts is being designed with this in mind. The XQ-58A Valkyrie demonstrator completed its first flight in March 2019. The military is anticipating that greater numbers of drones will be destroyed in future combat. This new model is significantly cheaper to manufacture, making it easier to replace.
Wow.
It's unclear exactly how the military
Money.
plans to use this new drone. But one thing is for sure, no matter how conflicts abroad change, the U.S. dependence on unmanned aircrafts isn't going anywhere.
That is true. MQ-9 Reapers. That's Cheddar News, people.
For more videos like this one, click subscribe now.
You can do a lot of things by learning. You can get more powerful by learning, because that is what we're talking about. You know what I'm saying? So, we know the military side. We win the drone strikes. Let's talk about drone delivery. This is the e-commerce side, because look, it can't all be just war. So in recent years, several drone delivery companies have started to gain Tractions in various transport industries. What started as a passing fad has quickly turned into a legitimate enterprise. How does drone delivery work? We're on Freight Waves ratings. Before we dive deep into this interesting topic, it's important to answer the question, how does drone delivery work? As the name suggests, drone delivery involves the transportation of goods to customers via the use of unmanned drones. While drones are not yet advanced enough to economically carry packages long distances, they can still expedite the delivery process. They do this by transporting lightweight products for the final mile of the shipping route. Drones can be operated in two ways. The first is via artificial intelligence, AI, and drones can also be manually operated by pilots who are located at a nearby distribution facility. Are drones being used for deliveries? Yes, drones are actively being used for deliveries. However, they are only being utilized in an extremely limited capacity at this point. This delivery method is being tested in a few select cities across the globe. Some companies are also using drones for internal deliveries, transporting items from one employee or facility to another. So, they say it's currently legal to deliver drones in all 50, or drone delivery in all 50 states. You know what I'm saying? So, let's look at how it would work. Here you go. And this is Tech Vision. We're going to look at how an Amazon delivery drone will work.
It's well over a decade since Amazon launched its Prime delivery service. In fact, it was 2007 when the company first introduced us to unlimited next-day shipping on what was at the time almost 1 million products.
Wow.
But in 13 years,
Million
we've seen
products.
little change. That is, until recently. Many areas now offer same-day delivery. But behind closed doors, Amazon had been working on an ambitious plan to realize almost instant delivery. The goal? Just 30 minutes. From the
Wow.
click of the Order Now button to the tangible products in our hands.
30 minutes.
Every delivery company can
What?
agree that the final mile or so of a product's journey is the most expensive. As it leaves a shipping container and steps away from the lorry's vessel, it enters the smallest vehicle yet, vans, and sometimes cars. Rather than carrying millions of products, a driver can now only carry a few dozen.
Yeah.
Employing thousands of drivers comes at incredible cost to shipping companies. Amazon has been toying with the idea of cutting out these final employees with
Okay.
autonomous machines such as the six-wheeled Scout robot. Its latest venture, however, has taken
that
to
looks
the
like
air.
a bomb robot.
Testing has been taking place for Amazon's fleet of drones since 2013. But it wasn't until 2020 that the company received approval from the Federal Aviation Administration to operate a fleet of delivery drones. The
Wow.
online shopping giant joined the list of companies experimenting with the idea, including Wing Aviation, owned by Google's parent company Alphabet, and UPS Flight Forward. The concept is
Okay.
simple, but how exactly does it work? When an order
Yeah.
is received at a local fulfillment center, it makes its way through the usual packaging process before finding itself in a special box designed to be carried by one of the company's drones. After being picked up by
Interesting.
one of these, the drone is carried to an outdoors takeoff spot on a mini rail network. It's not until it's outdoors that the fully electric motors spin into action, ready for takeoff. Ascending
Wow.
vertically, the drone will reach an altitude of less than 400 feet before beginning its journey to the customer's house. Just
Wow.
like a self-driving car, the drone houses a number of special sensors to help it understand its surroundings, including GPS, visual, thermal, and sonar detectors.
I wonder
This
if they
allows
use
it
a
to paint
drone
3D pictures
to
of the
film
world
the
around it,
drone.
including obstacles on the ground like people,
Think about it, a
telephone
drone
wires,
to
and
film
buildings,
that
as well
commercial
as
for
airborne
drone.
intrusions such as
Like a
hot air
drone
balloons
filming
and
a
other
drone.
drones. This forms the basis of what Amazon calls sense and avoid technology. When the drone has arrived at the customer's house, it begins to scan for a safe landing spot.
Okay.
We're unsure how this process works, but from videos it could
Whatever's
work as
in
one
there,
of
he's
two
probably
ways.
hungry. He said.
This could involve the drone assessing a predetermined landing area, either set up by the customer or a mapping system,
That's
or
raw.
a special mat could be placed
Delivery
down by the
zones.
customer, which provides the drone with a reference point. The tech on this mat could be as simple as a color-coded symbol for the drone to read, or it could involve a QR code which confirms the correct location.
Okay.
For a more private experience, the mat may even use a combination of Bluetooth and ultra-wideband for pinpoint accuracy,
That's
although
dope.
this would have to involve charging the mat between uses. It's safe to say we don't know at this point, and Amazon
No.
could be trying a combination of all these ideas out right now. Currently, the weight limit for parcels is set at just £5, which is 2.3 kilograms, which doesn't sound like a lot, but Amazon claims more than 3/4 of its parcels weigh less than this. Just like cars, various models will be designed for different environments. Some suited to the agile nature of city centres, and some suited to the high-speed crossing of rural areas. Once the delivery has been successfully made, the drone returns to the fulfillment center before embarking on another mission.
That's dope.
In the event of
When
a
do they
collision,
charge?
some believe the drones will be instructed to dismantle themselves mid-flight because smaller and lighter pieces of debris are less dangerous than a 25-kilogram man-made asteroid heading for an innocent human. Others
Dang.
believe intentional collisions will be forced, as crashing into something like a tree will be less catastrophic than somebody's car. The current problem is that fulfillment centers inhabit a large area, which means they are found in semi-rural areas just outside the city boundaries. This is great for the handful of people who live locally to these warehouses, but city dwellers are larger in numbers and generally order more packages online.
Yeah.
Amazon's solution? Patents have already been filed for the fulfillment center's city-dwelling cousins. These buildings are expected to resemble beehives, tall in design and with multiple takeoff and landing zones across the surface. A design similar to the unfavorably named Gherkin in London's financial district could be beneficial, allowing it not only to serve as a landmark for drones to use, but with floor space in cities so expensive, height is a sensible option. Not only this, it could allow the company to have its own airspace monitoring facility high in the sky, just like an airport's air traffic control center. The potential is huge here. We're talking an Amazon-inspired city, of course, entirely hypothetical for now.
That's
Everything could double its purposes.
wild.
Lampposts could become charging points for drones. Rooftops could become waiting areas, which could help regulate high-demand areas. Public spaces could become drop-off points for people lacking in private outdoor spaces, as is the case for many apartments in the city. The chances of seeing a fully fledged Amazon drone delivery service anytime soon are very slim, however. Whereas vans navigate a series of roundabouts, traffic lights and junctions on a 2D scale, there's no such traffic management in our urban airspaces, which operate on a 3-dimensional scale.
And there's
Don't be disappointed,
cell
though.
phone signals,
Amazon is working
planes,
to realize
there's a
this
lot
dream.
of stuff.
A
I
very
seen one
important
plane
date
in
for
the
the
sky
company
with
was
these
December
things.
the 7th, 2016. This was the date that its first customer received his first drone-delivered Amazon parcel via Prime Air. From purchase to delivery, the smooth process took just 13 minutes, less than half the goal time frame. He was able to choose from thousands of products from his local fulfillment center in Cambridge, England, and was one of just 2 customers to be part of the initial trial, before it extended to include hundreds more participants.
That's
To
dope.
speed up the process, Amazon plans to act within the regulations, which means less time spent bending the rules. Current US regulations require drones to fly under 400 feet at speeds of less than 100 miles per hour.
Right.
Prime Air will operate between 200 and 500 feet at speeds of up to 50 miles per hour, within a 10-mile radius of their base stations. Amazon CEO Jeff Bezos famously described the success of his company was thanks to its obsession over the end-to-end experience, from the customer's initial engagement with the website to the arrival of a product. Online tracking and often faster than anticipated delivery times have stunned millions of customers, but things are about to get a whole lot better. With years of planning under its belt and its huge expertise in online shopping and delivery, we're excited to see Amazon's final solution to deliver thousands of packages in less than 30 minutes.
But
have you ever received a parcel by a robot? If so, what was your experience?
Have you ever received a parcel by a robot? No, I cannot say I have. Now, there's fears to this, though. And we're going to take an excerpt from The Drone Age by Jeremy Davidson. This is a documentary. We're going to take an excerpt of it. Here we go.
I think the public is generally reluctant to accept new technology.
Dr. Nachman, did you feel threatened by the drone flying over your house yesterday?
Yes, I did.
Anytime some new technology comes online, people are fearful of it. People are fearful of writing things down, of the printing press, of the telephone, the telegraph, of the computer, of the internet, and ultimately of robots and drones.
Oh no, it's that Amazon drone.
Ah! Oh my God, Ben! We're about to die!
I think after people get used to it, they understand the benefits, they understand the disadvantages.
A recent video of a handgun firing drone has gone viral on YouTube.
We're doomed.
I mean,
He
cell
said we're
phones were
doomed.
loathed and hated when they first came out because people were sort of fearful of privacy issues, and now everyone has one in their pocket. Even though those same concerns still exist, we've adopted them.
Wow.
Recent research suggests that the majority of Americans harbor negative attitudes towards the private
See what I'm
use of
saying?
drones.
That's wild.
Their biggest concern? The invasion of privacy.
Do you have any idea how much fun we could have with this thing?
South Park.
We can spy on everyone.
My dad
Probably definitely getting copyrighted for this
That's
one.
all done for.
No, the plane, it's always spying on me. Go away or I'm gonna call the policeman.
They seem like such invasive pieces of technology that I would like to know who's operating the machine that's flying above my house or where I work or where I
feel a little like slightly violated. Like that's like my space, and like a lot of drones have cameras on them and stuff.
Right, a lot of drones have
and
cameras.
So I would feel like a little like a trespass was occurring. I wouldn't like that very much.
The camera.
So the people are noticing and they're saying the camera being, they're not so upset with the drone being over their house. They're more upset with them being able to see. So, and this was a study done, a short documentary. I forgot what school this is, but it's a short documentary by, I'll show you. It is a short documentary by Western Michigan University School of Communication that you can get to their documentary, The Drone Age. But it goes over the fears and how people feel. Do you have participants to ask questions? Why do you feel like this? Well, they don't want the camera. They don't want people to see. But then we got to talk about cinematography. We got to talk about movies because it's not all bad. It's not all spying. There's one more part to this. It's cinematography. So let's look at it. How have drones changed cinematography?
Filmmakers were used to renting a helicopter or a crane to get aerial shots for their film, which is pretty costly and time-consuming. But nowadays, with the help of drones, we can capture fast-forward aerial shots quite easily. In the past 10 years, drone technology has come a long way, and now they are more stable, powerful, and even come with marvelous camera quality. It also changed the imagination of the filmmakers who are using them to get their desired shots.
Exactly.
In today's video, we are going to talk about how drones have changed the ways of cinematography, giving away filmmakers the utmost convenience. So let's get started.
This is Tech Square, people. They're good.
There was a time when drones were considered only for military operations and the global defense industry.
Right.
But now they are developing a new frontier in cinematography. They are giving us the possibility to take our cameras where we have never been able to take them before and creating amazing shots.
Exactly,
Suppose
I do
you
that.
need car trail footage, which can be pretty hard to capture with standard techniques or a helicopter. But with the help of a drone, you can capture it pretty easily. Until 2012, the drone was banned in the US, and no one was able to use it for commercial purposes, which means even filmmakers were also not able to utilize it. After getting approved by Federal Aviation Administration, almost every filmmaker started using drones to get creative shots, even from the sky, which vastly optimizes the film quality and creativity.
Drones are so much
fun.
fun.
Let us mention some famous movie names with drone recording footage, which includes Harry Potter, Mission Impossible, Captain America, and more. So do you think drones can provide adequate stability for your cinematography when flying so fast? Yes, drones are now far better and stronger than before. They are now offering optimized gimbal to capture shake and blur-free footage. For example, we all heard about the DJI, right?
Right.
The most popular drone company that delivers its best quality drone for both beginners and professionals. And it comes with sophisticated gimbal systems that can stabilize both big and small cameras. With the help of a 3-axis gimbal that combines with electronic image stabilization, you can create any kind of footage without making it blurry. Amazing things, right? There are even some heavy lift drones like Sony AirPeak S1 that can carry a full-fledged film camera with an external gimbal, whereas filmmakers once had to bear it with a helicopter or crane. You can also capture land-based footage by taking the benefits of its altitude systems instead of using jibs and dollies. Now let's talk about built-in camera drones. As it's the most important thing for your cinematography, creating marvelous footage without a good quality camera can be pretty hard, no matter how skilled you are. In this generation, drone like DJI Mavic 3 Cine offers a 5.1K Apple ProRes with 20 megapixel Hasselblad camera for crystal clear and detailed footage, so you don't have to carry an extra camera to get your desired shots. It also features natural color solution to deliver vivid footage for your film. So we can say that drones not only provide us stability, mobility, and portability, but better camera setup as well, which takes our cinematography to new heights. Finally, let's talk about the production cost. According to Tony Carmine of Aerial MOB, a helicopter costs $20,000 to $40,000 US dollars for 10 hours a day, whereas a drone only costs $4,500 to $13,000 US dollars a day with its crew and insurance. This means drone not only allows you to take creative shots, but reduce your production costs as well. So that was all about how drones came to the film industry to change the way of cinematography and replaced helicopters and cranes for aerial shots. And if you are a content creator or cinematographer, we suggest you should definitely go for a drone to elevate your footage quality. What do you think?
To elevate your footage. A drone. A drone to elevate your footage. A drone to elevate your footage. That's what we're talking about. You know what I'm saying? That's what we're talking about. Drones. So, speaking on that note, we're going to take a walk in the other room over here. I'm going to show you guys something, you know? I think I can do that for you. Take you in the other room, show you something. What's over here? I don't know. But I'm going to go over here and show you. So, we're talking about DJI. We're talking about drones. Whoa! We're talking about a lot of stuff. But the consumer drone is a very powerful item. I think it is very useful. This here is a DJI. This is the controller for my Air 2S. I bought it, and I am more than overjoyed with it. Has screw-on thumbsticks. And I've used it to film a lot of things. We took it down to Florida. We were on the beach, shit and had it out. Obey your local laws and regulations. Has a 3-pack of chargers. Comes with all the extra stuff you need. I even have a pack of UV filters. You can change your battery pack into a charger for your devices. So if you had a battery pack that was charged, you could connect this, connect to that, and you would have it all. Now, this is my favorite drone as of right now. I've had it for probably about a year now, but this is the DJI Air 2S. This is beautiful. I love this drone. It's one of my favorite things to play with by far. It was asking for my thingy. So, see, we got it spinning. It works. People, it works. It's DJI Air 2S. And there we have it. It's probably windy. It's probably loud, but DJI Air 2S. We have an interactive one for us today, right? A little bit interactive. Whoa, not to me, baby. Look at that. Light on. Interactive. I got the gimbal case on still because I don't want the gimbal to move, but crazy, right? And then we're going to land it. It's DJI Air 2S. You guys see that? I've had this drone. I love this drone. It's one of my favorite things. You can fly it in a house. I'm just saying. Good job, baby. So, this is what we wanted to do. Have a little bit of interactive for you. I would run a course or something here, but I don't have that much space right now. You know? So, that is the DJI Air 2S. If you don't have a drone, actually just buying one. It's great for aerial photography. It's great for everything. You can get so much done. I probably shouldn't have flew that in the house. You know what I'm saying? So, we're going to go and we're going to recap all of this. And we're back. So, yeah. I head on over from the other room back over here now. We're going to look at the animated history of the drone.
What exactly is a drone? Some will tell you a drone is a surveillance tool meant to watch over a nation. Others might say it's an innovative gizmo for delivering products. Even more probably, will tell you a drone is a lethal ghost hiding in the sky. The United States military currently has hundreds of unarmed and armed drones flying over more than a dozen countries.
Wow.
By 2018, the Federal Aviation Administration predicts some 7,500 small commercial drones will be present in the United States alone. In the past decade, drones have become synonymous with airstrikes aimed at eliminating terrorist groups overseas, guided largely by the Central Intelligence Agency's targeted killing program. The Bureau of Investigative Journalism reports that between 2004 and 2014, the CIA organized close to 400 drone strikes in Pakistan, killing more than 3,000 people. And those are just the strikes we know about. It's no wonder these machines have captured the curiosity and fear of the world over. But where did these phantoms of the sky come from? To find out, we'll need to look back almost 100 years.
Wow. Illustrate the history of the drone.
Drones,
Let's go.
or unmanned aerial vehicles, work through a system of sensors. Think of it as a basic remote-controlled vehicle, only with a much longer range. The exact origin of the drone is tricky to pin down. World War I saw the first real introduction of aircraft into military service, though things like balloons and kites had been used for decades before.
Wow.
Toward the end of World War I, the US Army was working on what it called aerial torpedoes, small biplanes like the Kettering Bug that would essentially work as kamikaze drones. But the war ended before they could be used. In 1915, in the early months of the Battle of Neuve-Chapelle in France, British armed forces used aerial imagery to capture more than 1,500 skyview maps of the German trench fortifications in the region. This ushered in a brand new era of using aerial imagery for complex coordinated operations like, for the first time ever, artillery on the ground were able to carry out barrages with advanced knowledge of the enemy infantry thanks to aerial mapping. This system continued to develop throughout the war.
Wow.
In 1939, in the very early stages of World War II, the United States produced the first remote-controlled aircraft called the radioplane OQ-2. Norma Jean Doherty, before she became better known as Marilyn Monroe, worked at a California plant assembling OQ-2s during the war. Unmanned surveillance operations continued playing more prominent roles throughout the Cold War and global conflicts in general. In 1973, after the Yom Kippur War, Israel developed the Mastiff UAV, and soon after, the IAI Scout, again both unpiloted surveillance machines. In 1986, a joint US-Israeli project produced the RQ-2 Pioneer, a medium-sized reconnaissance drone.
Ooh.
Around the same time, Abraham Karam, an Israeli expert engineer who'd spent years working for the IAI, developed a similar prototype called the Nat 750 in his garage outside Los Angeles. American defense contractor General Atomics bought Karam's design in 1990. Fast forward a few years to the early stages of the Bosnian War, and the CIA purchased 2 Nat 750s for $5 million to deploy on surveillance operations over Bosnia. On January 7, 1994, the Pentagon signed a contract with General Atomics that tasked the company with redesigning the Nat 750.
Wow.
A deal to make it bigger, sturdier, quieter, more dynamic. 6 months later, the first generation of the Predator drone was born.
Wow.
The Predator was first flown over Afghanistan in the fall of 2000, when an Air Force team flew one for the CIA in a hunt for Osama bin Laden. At the time, it was only armed with surveillance cameras. On December 21, 2000, the U.S. Air Force received Pentagon approval to arm the Predator with Hellfire missiles, less than a year before the 9/11 terrorist attacks on New York City. In the immediate aftermath of 9/11, the CIA launched the Targeted Killing Campaign, essentially an approval list from the Pentagon to kill whomever they deemed perpetrators of the 9/11 attacks.
That's wild, bro.
This is illegal because of what's called an authorization for use of military force, a law Congress passed in the wake of 9/11. Enter the strikes. As the remnants of the terror group Al-Qaeda's leadership fled out of Afghanistan and into Pakistan and Yemen, both sovereign territories, the newly armed drones soon followed. Quietly. And here's where things really started to get messy. Article 2.4 of the Charter of the United Nations protects the sovereignty of member states, meaning they should be free from military incursions during times of peace. But the Obama administration argued the manhunts were permissible because the intended targets, all affiliated with Al-Qaeda in one form or another, posed an imminent threat of attacks on U.S. soil or U.S. interests abroad. Both the CIA and Pentagon have been relatively quiet about who and where they strike.
Right.
The Bureau of Investigative Journalism reports that the CIA initiated close to 400 drone strikes in Pakistan since 2004, while the Pentagon executed between 66 and 184
That's
in
a
Yemen,
lot, people.
plus 20 more in Somalia.
That's a lot.
But really, given the limited information on strikes, it's difficult to pin down an exact number of casualties. Why use drones to kill? Why now? Think about it as if you're cracking a code. In traditional warfare, enemies were easily identified by their uniforms or activities. Post 9/11 terrorist groups like Al-Qaeda and related insurgencies instead hide in plain sight, living modestly amongst civilians and using homes as their command centers. The sneakiness of drones makes it possible for someone near Las Vegas to remotely watch over a suspected area in, say, Pakistan for months at a time, sifting through the haystack to find the hiding needle from an entire ocean away.
Right.
But that just leads to things getting even messier.
Right.
As with traditional strikes, civilians can also get caught up in the crossfire from drones.
Right.
The Bureau reports 957 civilians have been killed by drone strikes in Pakistan since 2004. 200 of them children.
Oh, man.
But again, exact numbers are tough to nail down. On September 30th, 2011, the CIA killed Anwar al-Awlaki, a U.S. citizen living in Yemen who'd been working for Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula, a radical militant group.
Wow.
Some law scholars and journalists criticized the Obama administration for targeting an American citizen. But the U.S. Department of Justice insisted al-Awlaki had for years posed imminent threats to the United States. The ethics and laws of it all are still largely a very gray area. In 2014, Amazon proposed using drones, much smaller and simpler than those in the military, to deliver packages to customers. Real estate agencies have begun using drones for promotional videos. And a burst of small DIY organizations have started creating their own, smaller-scale machines for recreational flights. Others have used drones for anti-poaching rescue missions in Africa. Medicine delivery via drones is still in its testing phase, and even Facebook is building huge solar-powered drones to fly at 50,000 feet and beam internet into remote areas of the world.
That's wild.
The Federal Aviation Administration reports more than 934 government agencies in the United States, from the FBI to Customs and Border Control to small police departments in Minnesota, have been approved for limited rights to operate unmanned aircraft in domestic
Small
spaces.
in Minnesota.
Chris Anderson, a former editor at Wired who left the magazine to run 3D Robotics, a drone kit company, put it best. We are entering the drone age. There's been blowback.
Yeah.
As of May 2014, 35 states in the U.S. have introduced legislation to limit the use of drones by government agencies. To date, 12 have adopted this legislation. Ironically, though, recent polls
Ohio's
show
one
that
of
more
them,
than
crazy.
half of Americans approve the use of drone strikes. Overseas, understandably, the overall approval is much lower.
I'm about to say,
The
it
drone
ain't no
age
way
is
you're
indeed
killing
here.
them. They ain't
What
doing
can we
drone
expect in
strikes
the
on
next
us.
year?
Like,
2 years? 5? If recent trends are any indication, we might as well get used to seeing them. And having them see us.
yeah. The world is wild. That is mashable. All right, people. All right, people. I'll let it play out. You just make sure that you know. We made it to the end. You know what it is. Check, 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 check the credits. You know what I'm saying? Check the credits, check the credits, check the credits. A dive into the world of drones. You guys have it. It's not a comprehensive guide, but at least we got some insight. I'm out of here. Peace, baby. You guys have a good one, an extra special one. I love you. Thanks for watching. Come back again. We gang.